The announcement from Buckingham Palace on February 5, 2024, was a masterclass in dignified understatement. During the King's recent hospital procedure for benign prostate enlargement, a separate issue of concern was noted. Subsequent diagnostic tests have identified a form of cancer. In that clinical, deliberate phrasing, a tremor reverberated far beyond the concerned public while wishing a 75-year-old man a speedy recovery. Within the labyrinthine corridors of Buckingham Palace, Clarence House, and the halls of Westminster, this was not merely a medical bulletin. It was a complex, encrypted signal, a sudden beam of light illuminating the intricate, often invisible machinery of the British monarchy, forcing a moment of raw reckoning for the institution, its key players, and the nation it symbolizes. The heartbreaking truth of King Charles III's diagnosis lies less in the illness itself and more in the profound hidden signals it sends to palace insiders about stability, succession, legacy, and the precarious balance of an ancient institution in a modern, unforgiving glare.
Signal 1. The vulnerability of the new reign and the acceleration of time. King Charles ascended the throne not as a young heir, but as the longest-serving Prince of Wales in history, a man whose personal and public narrative was deeply woven with a sense of waiting, of preparation, of deferred purpose. His reign, barely 18 months old, was consciously framed as one of slimmed-down monarchy, modernized relevance, and a lifetime of accrued wisdom being finally deployed. The cancer diagnosis brutally shatters this narrative timeline. For palace insiders, the private secretaries, the communications teams, the Lord Chamberlain's office, the immediate, unspoken signal is one of radical temporal compression. All long-term projects, the planned evolution of the royal estate, the careful diplomatic initiatives Charles championed, like the Commonwealth, his particular vision for patronage, are suddenly thrust into a shadow of profound uncertainty. The new Carolean era risks being historically abbreviated, a poignant interlude between two monarchs of vastly different generations. Insiders are now forced to operate on two parallel tracks, supporting a reigning monarch through treatment, while, with quiet urgency, accelerating preparations for a reign not yet officially on the horizon. This creates a delicate, almost untenable tension. How does one slim down an institution while simultaneously ensuring its robust continuity? How does the court of King Charles III maintain his authority and agenda, while, in hushed meetings, the protocols for a Queen Camilla and a King William VII are discreetly reviewed? The signal is clear. The luxury of a gradual transition is gone. The monarchy's clock, which seemed to tick with slow ceremonial certainty, has been startlingly sped up.
Signal 2. The heir and spare dynamic, recast under a harsher light. The diagnosis inevitably and instantly refocuses the spotlight on Prince William, the Prince of Wales. For insiders, this is the most critical and sensitive succession signal. William, who had strategically carved a space as a semi-detached royal, focusing on his young family and a narrower set of core causes, is now pulled into the epicenter with magnetic force. The signal to him and his team at Kensington Palace is one of imminent, tangible responsibility. His father's illness transforms his future role from an abstract inevitability into a potential imminent reality. This shift is fraught with unspoken complexity. William must publicly be the devoted son, supporting his father, while privately preparing to potentially assume the mantle of monarch sooner and under more tragic circumstances than anyone anticipated. Every public appearance, every statement, is now scrutinized for signs of regal readiness. For palace insiders across both households, this necessitates a subtle but significant realignment of loyalties and workflows. The court of the future king gains weight and gravity today. Furthermore, it casts a new, potentially uncomfortable light on the distance between William and his brother, Prince Harry. The brief, rushed visit from California served as a stark signal in itself. The royal family's operational model in crisis has no formal role for the spare. The machinery, as currently configured, is built around the monarch and the direct heir. Harry's peripheral status, self-imposed yet deeply felt, is highlighted not through drama, but through procedural irrelevance, a heartbreaking truth for the family, and a clear signal to insiders about the unforgiving nature of the institution's operational blueprint.
Signal 3. The Camilla conundrum and the rise of a queen consort. No individual's position is more subtly transformed by this signal than Queen Camilla's. Her journey from reviled mistress to accepted consort was one of the late Queen's masterstrokes and Charles's steadfast victory. Now her role evolves from supportive wife to a potentially crucial linchpin of stability. For palace insiders, she becomes the key emotional and, to some extent, operational conduit to the king during his treatment. Her steadfast presence offers a narrative of continuity and private strength. But the hidden signal goes further. Should the king's treatment require a reduction in duties, Camilla's public role may need to expand, not as a regent, a constitutional complexity avoided in Britain, but as the leading face of the royal couple. This tests the public's full acceptance of her and the institution's ability to seamlessly present her in this amplified capacity. Furthermore, her long-term position becomes a pivotal question. As the queen consort to a potentially deceased monarch, her future status, residence, and influence would be delicate matters for the new king to navigate. The signal to insiders is to bolster Camilla's position quietly, ensuring she is seen as an asset of resilience, while also discreetly contemplating the protocols for a queen dowager. Her story, so long defined by her relationship to Charles, now carries a new, independent weight for the institution's future.
Signal 4. The institution's immune system. Secrecy versus transparency. The palace's handling of the announcement was a deliberate signal in communication strategy. By disclosing the cancer, but not its specific type or stage, they walked a tightrope between outdated secrecy and modern transparency. This calibrated reveal is a signal to insiders about the monarchy's evolving survival mechanism. The old model, absolute privacy bordering on obscuration, is untenable in the digital age. Yet, total transparency would make a monarch a public patient, their prognosis a subject for daily speculation. The chosen path, a humanizing disclosure that maintains medical privacy, aims to foster public sympathy while retaining control of the narrative. For communication secretaries and courtiers, this sets a new precedent. It acknowledges the public's perceived right to know about major events affecting the head of state, while drawing a firm line at the bedroom door. The signal is that the monarchy's defense is no longer walls of silence, but managed, empathetic disclosure. However, this strategy is perilous. It invites speculation it seeks to quell. If the king's recovery is prolonged or complicated, the pressure for more information will mount. Insiders are now tasked with maintaining this balance, knowing that every subsequent health update will be parsed not just for medical facts, but for hidden political and succession clues.
Signal 5. The constitutional ripples in a politically fractured nation. Beyond the palace walls, the most potent signals are received in the corridors of Westminster and the offices of the 14 other Commonwealth realms where Charles is head of state. A monarch's serious illness is a soft constitutional stress test. In the UK, the mechanisms of councillors of state, authorized to perform royal functions if the monarch is incapacitated, suddenly move from theoretical to potential practical necessity. The current list includes Queen Camilla, Prince William, Prince Harry, Prince Andrew, and Princess Beatrice, a mixture of the suitable, the controversial, and the non-working. This anomaly, unaddressed during the late Queen's reign, now presents a glaring problem. Reliance on Prince Harry, overseas, or Prince Andrew, disgraced, is untenable. The signal to the Prime Minister and the Privy Council is one of urgent, quiet reform. Legislation may need to be expedited to streamline this list, ensuring only working senior royals can step in, a move that would further codify the marginalization of the minor royals and solidify the slimmed-down model under duress. For the Commonwealth realms, the signal is one of latent Republican opportunity. Nations like Australia, Jamaica, and others have long had simmering Republican movements. The end of the iconic Elizabeth II's reign removed a significant barrier to that debate. Now the potential for a second succession within 2 years could accelerate calculations. The stability and longevity of the monarch is a key, if often unstated, argument for the status quo. Charles's illness reminds realm governments of the inherent unpredictability of hereditary rule. Insiders in these countries will be watching the British monarchy's handling of the crisis closely, assessing its resilience and public support, and calibrating their own political strategies accordingly.
Signal 6. The public's emotional contract. Sympathy versus scrutiny. Finally, the diagnosis sends a profound signal about the unwritten contract between the public and the crown. The immense wave of public sympathy is a tangible asset. It humanizes Charles in a way decades of royal duty sometimes failed to do.
People see a grandfather, a husband, a man facing a universal fear. This reservoir of goodwill can temporarily insulate the institution from other criticisms. But palace insiders know this contract is fickle. The signal is that this sympathy is a currency to be managed, not squandered. It necessitates a careful curation of the king's image during this period, showing resilience without stoicism, vulnerability without weakness. It also raises the stakes for the next generation. Prince William and Catherine must now embody both continuity and fresh hope, their every action measured against a backdrop of public anxiety for the future. The danger is a public narrative shifting from "get well soon, sir" to "what happens next." The institution must guide that narrative with immense care, using the sympathy to reinforce the monarchy's role as a unifying, stable symbol, even as its own stability is internally questioned. Conclusion: the heartbreaking truth of illumination. The heartbreaking truth revealed by King Charles III's cancer diagnosis is not found in tabloid headlines about family rifts or palace plots. It is far more profound. The illness acts as a high-intensity scan on the body of the monarchy itself, revealing its strengths, its aging arteries, its hidden dependencies, and its points of acute vulnerability.
For palace insiders, the signals are omnipresent and urgent. Prepare for all eventualities, now. Accelerate the transition without seeming to do so. Balance transparency with control. Fortify the core. Marginalize the peripherals. And above all, project an unshakable calm. The monarchy is an institution built on the illusion of timeless permanence. Charles's diagnosis is a piercing reminder of the mortal individuals at its heart. The hidden signals now circulating through the palace are not about morbidity, but about survival. The meticulous, unsentimental, and relentless work of ensuring that when the individual falters, the institution, that strange and anachronistic magic, does not. The coming months will be a masterclass in this shadow work. The world will see a king battling illness with courage, but behind the scenes, the ancient, silent machinery of monarchy will be executing its most critical function, ensuring that the crown, that heavy, glittering, and now heartbreakingly human symbol, is always ready to be passed, seamlessly, to the next waiting head.